another edition of Crime, Lies, and Alibis. My name is Nicole, and I just want to give the disclaimer that this is for educational purposes only, seeking some justice for victims, and is for adult purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. So I wanted to give this its own little video. I know that this itself is about 20 minutes, and with my wordiness, I'll probably drag it out until about 45, but bear with me, there's a reason, there's a purpose. So, I kind of feel bad, because when it comes to Lori Vallow, I laugh. It's not funny the reason she's in court. I want to make this clear, because I feel like this disclaimer is needed. I laugh at her audacity. I laugh at the person that she is, in the sense that I almost it almost keeps me from being angry at her, because it's a lot easier to laugh than it is to deal with anger, for me personally. And her telling the judge yesterday that he's welcome to come see her in jail to see if she's better for jury selection on Wednesday. And I truly, genuinely believe that she thought she could buy herself another week or two and keep delaying this, because she doesn't want to go back. This is an extended vacation for her. This is a field trip. And yes, it sounds silly looking at prison as a vacation, but right now she's in the limelight. She's in a spotlight. She gets asked for interviews and to talk to press. So they're not going to care once she's back in Idaho in the bowels of the prison. She's going to be just like any other life or inmate that's stuck there. And again, this is a woman who is so self-absorbed that she believes that she is the chosen one. She is the chosen one, everybody. She is the high priestess who was chosen by her God, deity, whatever, to lead her people to the promised land. She was given the gift of visions to where she can see the good people, the righteous people, and the people who just are not worthy of the promised land, not worthy to be among the 144,000. Her own children were unworthy. They were killed because she was releasing them from their bodily prisons, and they were not going to the opposite, so she's saving them. She saved Charles Vallow, who was no longer Charles Vallow, he was Ned. And that's what she justified, and this is what it is for her. It's a justification. She wanted to be with Chad. She wanted to be married to Chad Daybell. And she didn't want to divorce Charles because she needed money. That was her motivation. She thought that she was going to get millions for his life insurance policy, and she was going to get money for her son as a survivor benefit, because Tylee, she got Social Security for Tylee, but that would be running out in 2 years because Tylee was 16, where JJ was only 7, I think. So that was the motivation for her. It was money. She wanted to be able to live the life of luxury that she had been living, being married to Charles, without being married to Charles. So she got her hands on his life insurance policy because he was killed, and he couldn't be killed in a suicidal kind of way. And he couldn't be killed, she couldn't outright murder him, because then she wouldn't get money. So she staged this event with her brother to make it look like a self-defense thing, so that when she claimed the insurance policy and turned that insurance policy in, it would have been he was shot in self-defense. That's the aim that she was going for the money. She wanted to live this lifestyle of luxury. She wanted to go back to Hawaii, where she enjoyed living, and lots of people would love to live in paradise, essentially. But she wanted to do that with Chad. She didn't want to do that married to Charles. And Chad was also married. He was married to Tammy Daybell, who mysteriously died, which Chad was found guilty for murdering her. She was exhumed, and they looked into her death and decided that she was murdered because 30 days after her death, Lori and Chad got married in Hawaii. This was when her children, Tylee and JJ, were missing. They had not been recovered yet. And they were recovered around the same time and it really, I hold a lot of this, like, I give a lot of credit to Lori's son Colby, because I have to wonder how much of this would have come to the surface had he not been so diligent in demanding answers for where Tylee and JJ were. Because he was led to believe that Tylee was mad at him, and that's why she wasn't communicating with him anymore. But he really didn't do anything to make her angry to justify cutting him off. And he had last gotten texts from her in September, but then he started to question whether or not they were even from her. She wasn't active on social media anymore. It was weird. He was getting weird messages from her, but they didn't seem like they were from her. So that was what led him to ask a lot of questions. He wanted to know where his sister was and his brother, because he wasn't buying this she was angry with him anymore. So if it weren't for Colby demanding answers and asking these questions and being on Lori and her giving him lie after lie after lie, I don't know that she would be in court today, or yesterday, I should say. I don't know that she'd be in a federal penitentiary. I don't know that Chad Daybell would be up for the firing squad in Idaho. I don't know, because I think I have to look into it, but Colby is the one who blew the whole whistle on everything. Who was like, where are my sister and brother? Where are they? Because I don't believe that Tylee is mad at me. I don't believe that I've been talking to her. Where is my sister? Where is my brother? And he kept at it. He kept asking these questions. And he kept talking to other people who were also asking these same questions. Where are these kids? Lori and Chad are getting married in Hawaii, but there's no signs that Tylee and JJ are there. It's odd that when she disappeared on Charles, leaving him with JJ for 2 months, she was off running around with Chad, didn't want anyone knowing where she was. Tylee was staying with Lori's brother and felt the need to sleep with a baseball bat. Well, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, that's your brother, your uncle. Why are you so nervous to be sleeping in the same home with your uncle? It's just very odd. And of course, you can't ask him any questions because he's dead too. So, it's just all of these people surrounding Lori are dead. Except for the man that she is on trial for now. I'm trying to get this straight. His name is Brandon Bordeaux. He is still alive. He has been in the courtroom. He will, I'm assuming, give witness testimony. He was married to Lori's niece. I don't believe they're married anymore. And there was an attempt on his life. He was shot at. And he firmly believes that it was a scheduled execution ordered by Lori. I will wait and see what kind of evidence comes forward in this trial. Like the other one, it will be televised. And I say the other one meaning the trial against the murder of Charles Vallow, which she was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. She thought that was unfair, of course, tried appealing it, but she's her own representation. And again, we're just adding more time to Lori. She's not up for the death penalty or anything. This is just seeking the justice for the victims, holding her accountable for her crimes, and giving her more prison time. Because here's the thing that people also need to understand. If for some reason she's able to get a judge to overthrow her conviction for Tylee and JJ's murder. It's not likely going to happen, but let's just say hypothetically that it does. And she gets released from prison for those murders. She will then be extradited back to Arizona, where she was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, and live out the rest of her life for the murder of Charles Daybell. Jesus, I did it again. Charles Vallow. So this is kind of a safeguard. If one judge decides for some reason to feel sorry for her and reopen her case and hear her out when it comes to Tylee and JJ, it's a safeguard to make sure that Lori stays in prison, because she is a literal threat to society. Lori is a threat. She's manipulative. She's a con artist. She is very good at convincing people of things, surprisingly, because, I mean, to a lot of people, she sounds absolutely crazy. But obviously, for people to commit murders for her, she's very convincing. So I'm just really interested, because like I had said in my last video, I had gone to see family, and I have been away for a little bit, and I'm back and re-catching up with some of these things that I've missed. And I've heard about it, but I haven't seen exactly her reasoning for why Judge Beresky should step down. But I love this guy. He's great. So here we go.
Excuse yourself from the obvious personal bias that you have against me and send us to master calendar for this scheduling of a trial?
And what personal bias is that?
A lot, obviously, the personal bias that you're showing right now and that you've shown on the FTR several times during the trial.
Okay, well, I don't have any personal bias, all right? I've over-accommodated you on when you have to disclose things. In fact, your expert should be summarily precluded today, and I haven't done that, all right?
I'm sorry about that.
All right? So
You denied every single one of my motions since for a year and a half that I've been here. Every single one of my motions has been denied. And have any of those motions not have merit? You've denied every single motion.
I think I was here this morning about 15 minutes ago when I granted your motion to meet with your attorneys over the lunch hour. I have granted other motions of yours, okay?
That's the first motion that you've ever granted
Well,
in my behalf.
file motions that have a legal basis, and I might grant them.
So you're saying none of my motions have had merit?
Not many, no.
And none of the motions that my first team, you denied every one of my first team's motions, you denied every one of my second team's motions, and now you denied every one of my motions until today.
I haven't denied every one of your motions.
Every single one of their motions was denied, every single one of the second team's motions were denied, and all mine. So you didn't come into this with any bias against me in the first place?
Again, file a motion that has legal merit, okay?
And none of my attorneys ever filed a motion with any legal merit?
They filed a motion on your behalf, the first team, to preclude media coverage, and I issued my ruling according to the law, all right? They filed a motion to have you dressed out, not in jail clothes during hearings like this, okay? That was not based in law. Denying your motion. Anything else?
So he denied the motion. That didn't stop her from filing a paper motion. And here is what it says, or at least part one of it. I'm going to try to zoom in here so hopefully you can see that. Partial hearing or trial before this court. Based on the affidavit, the defendant respectfully moves that the Honorable Justin Beresky proceed no further in this action and that another judge be assigned to hear the case. Now, too fair, some of you have said, in the fact that he's told her multiple times that he can't give her legal advice, but at some points it does appear that way, that he is kind of helping her along in a way. I have not observed that. I believe that the judge has been fair and he has been out of the spotlight, you could say, not trying to persuade things one way or another. But this is what Lori, so she attached an affidavit to her motion. And this is what she says. I, Lori Daybell, being duly sworn, say, Mrs. Daybell has made multiple motions for Judge Justin Beresky to recuse himself from her cases. He has refused, and he willingly violated the Code of Judicial Conduct, Canon 1-2, manifesting bias, prejudice, and cannot be impartial in the defendant's case. On May 14th, the defendant's case are in the worldwide media networks. Okay, let me stop there. I got to reread that. On May 14th, 2025, the defendant's cases are in the worldwide media networks. Justin Beresky refused to recuse himself in direct questioning by the defendant. The judge proceeded to breach his opinions of the defendant's prior two groups of counsel, the defendant's advisory counsel, and the defendant's motions that he has denied without cause or decision to support his denial of requests. A judge should have recused himself related to the merits of their own ruling. In regard to complaint of judicial misconduct, a judge commits error of laws in the process of reaching discretionary conclusions in abuse of discretion. On the May 14th, 2025 court proceeding, Judge Beresky's behavior and judicial acts fall within the scope of, quote, bad faith. The acts were intentionally committed, and the judge knew or should have known that his actions were beyond a judge's lawful power and without lawful power of judge, but for corrupt purpose, which includes any other than faithful discharge of judicial duty. In Judge Carroll, she quotes case law, the motions that the or she quotes another case, I should say. The motions that the defendant's prior to legal counsel teams, the defendant and her current advisory counsel have advised for the defendant to file for evidence, and further motions of requests are crucial to the defense preparation. Witnesses, experts, evidence, proof of innocence, cross-examination, rebuttals, and foundation to the defense, all of which Judge Beresky has deprived the defendant of access to the evidence. A judge abuses his discretion in controlling discovery. Judge Beresky crossed the line of neutrality when he misemployed his powers, when he assumed role using his judicial powers to advantage or disadvantage a party unfairly.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there, and I thank you for Nate for breaking this down. So she's saying that he crossed a line, and I'm going to say, yes, he denies a lot of her motions, but a lot of her motions really have no basis. And the reason I say they have no basis is because, well, we heard it from Judge Beresky's mouth. You know, he's not recusing himself because he doesn't think he's been unfair. He couldn't find a ruling in the courts that state she can't be in civilian clothing, or she has to be in civilian clothing for situations such as right now. There's no jury present. He has allowed her to change into civilian clothing for the presence of the jury. And we see this when she comes back to court and is in the wheelchair, and he wants to address the jury and explain to them why they are, being delayed again. And he wants to move her to the chair from the wheelchair because the wheelchair was property of the prison, and he did not want them to have that visual. Whether or not she is an inmate currently because she is on trial, he doesn't want them to have that visual because he wants to give her the most fair trial. And it's not only because he doesn't want to get his ruling overturned, because that is the thing that happens in courts all the time, but he is following the letter of the law because it's important. The law is important to him. It's literally his life. Judges are former lawyers, typically, I believe. So for him, he wants to follow the law because the law is important. It's why he does what he does. It's why he listens to these cases and decides on what's fairest. This is his life. This is what he does. And he wants to give her a fair trial because he wants to be able to sleep at night knowing that he was the fairest he could have been to this woman. And he's gone beyond the scope of what would be fair to most people because we're thinking about what she's done. And it's all laughable. She knows he's not going to recuse himself. It's theatrics. And this is what I find so funny when it comes to her, because it's easier for me to laugh at her ridiculousness than to get angry, because I'm really angry at her. that she just is so flippant about everyone's suffering because all she cares about is herself. And she doesn't have to care about anyone in her own world. She doesn't care about her children. She doesn't care about the continued pain that she puts her son through. In the wake of all of her destruction, Lori is a living, breathing, walking volcano of destruction. And that's what she does. She destroys people. She and Chad laugh about it like it's funny. Charles called her a life destroyer. And she is. There's nothing that she's shown anyone to prove that she's not a life destroyer. But it's theatrics for her. Because the more attention that she gets, the more she craves. It doesn't matter if it's negative attention. She wants the attention. She wants to be the focal point. She is the center of everyone's universe, not just her own. She is the chosen one. She is the high priestess. Everyone should bow down and respect and give Lori everything that she asks for and everything that she wants. And the reality is nobody's giving her anything that she wants. Other than attention, other than this vacation at the, cost of taxpayers. Because none of this is coming out of Lori. She's not paying for any of this. I guess she's saved by being her own lawyer and nobody's paying for her to have counsel. But again, she's not up for the death penalty, so what does it matter if she gets more time added? She doesn't want to be forgotten. So she doesn't want to be, people are in the now. They're thinking about the now. And when she goes back to prison, yeah, there will be stories here and there about her. But for the most part, she disappears into obscurity. And that is what she doesn't want. Because she is the chosen one. She is the high priestess. She has visions. And, this is a woman who is giving yoga lessons to other inmates that they can't see each other. They're all in separate cells. But she gives them yoga instructions. And she speaks to them about, the afterlife and whatever. I can't. I don't even know. But her saying you've denied all my emotions is untrue. She's upset because he's denied her at all. That's the problem. He's denied her in general. She thinks that everything she should be given on a whim. She wanted the case dismissed. That was denied. She wanted a new judge. That was denied. She wanted to not have cameras in the courtroom. That was denied. She keeps getting these denials because she's asking for things that are unreasonable. The video feed that we got yesterday was horrendous. But he agreed that there would be only one. Well, they decided to have multiple views of the courtroom because they, it's just the way they chose to do it. So they did a split screen. And as a result, it compromised the clarity of the feed. Fine. If that's what they have to do, but at least we have that hot mic in the courtroom and we can hear what's going on and we can see things and there's that transparency for the public, which I secretly believe that she really wants anyway, because again, it's, she wants to be the focal point, she wants the attention, but she has to pretend to be just so outraged that, oh, this is televised, I don't want them focusing on me, which is really funny if you go back to that video. When she was saying that she doesn't want cameras in the courtroom, they focused on her ankle and the shackles, the fancy bracelets that she's wearing. So I was rather amused by the cameraman, and his cheeky decision to focus on Lori's feet, because she didn't want to be the focal point. Of course she wants to be the focal point. If she could have a camera on her at all times, she would, because that is just Lori. The woman who rented a house that had a room full of mirrors so that she could watch herself dance. That is beyond. So, here's the judge who's like, no, I'm not going to recuse myself. And there's another thing he denied that she requested. And, this trial is going to be starting. I guess the jury is coming back tomorrow. Whether Lori is well enough or not, because, you know, this super horrendous cold that she has makes her not even want to sit up, which, I mean, I guess when I'm sick, I don't want to be sitting up either, but at the same time, like, time's a ticking, lady. You know, these people have other things to do, and, you know, people are taking time from their lives to participate in this trial, whether they be witnesses or jurors. You know, there are people who are involved in this too, and they also have lives that are being disrupted every time they have to change plans because, oh, I guess I'm not going out of town today. There are witnesses that have to be flown in, and that's costly. You have to change their flights. That's costly. You know, she's wasting all these people's time on frivolous things. It's not even like it's important things. I could see if, you know, she contracted laryngitis and got really sick because somebody contaminated her food and she's beyond ill to the point of needing the infirmary. Okay, well, that sucks, and I could see her needing time to get better. But she's doing this as a ploy to drag out the clock. That's what she's doing. Because she doesn't want to go back to Idaho. She's not ready to go back to Idaho. She needs that limelight. So, thank you. I'm not sure if I'll be back today with something. I might be, or I will be back tomorrow because they will be in court tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.